If you don't have employees that believe they are doing the right thing and are recognized for that, you won't be competitive in the future.
You keep people engaged and you keep them committed and having fun at what they're doing, then they're going to want to come into work the next day.
We've become convinced that the rate of improvement of your business is almost directly related to the amount of positive reinforcement you're doing for your people.
Encouraging the heart is what I believe the most important thing to moving the business forward.
I sometimes say it like this: how many people think that they've been thanked too often? And I don't get lots of people raising their hands saying, yeah, that's me, I've been thanked too often.
People want to be recognized. They need to be recognized, we know from our research, to do extraordinary things. But it doesn't take extraordinary effort or big projects or big budgets to do this.
James Kouzes and Barry Posner have spent decades examining the best practices of leaders and organizations around the world. Their extensive research was first published in the best-selling books, The Leadership Challenge and Credibility. Their most recent work focuses on inspiring worker commitment and motivating high performance, what they call encouraging the heart.
Encouraging the heart is essentially two things. It is about recognizing individuals for their contributions to the success of the enterprise, success of the organization, nonprofit, government, whatever. And it is also about celebrating together as a group.
This program features people and organizations that practice the 7 essentials of encouraging the heart. Set clear standards, expect the best, pay attention, tell the story, personalize recognition, celebrate together, and set the example.
What setting clear standards is all about is exactly that, to be clear in your mind about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. That's not only important for you, but it's important for other people so that they know what the target is, so that everybody's aimed in the same direction.
The leader's job is to keep people focused on those targets, on those goals and objectives, on those standards, both the end result as well as on the path to getting there.
One organization that sets clear standards is Honeywell Commercial Aviation. Located in Phoenix, Arizona, this facility produces guidance systems for commercial aircraft. Already a high-performing operation, Honeywell Commercial Aviation has raised the bar by seeking fast improvements in delivery times. To focus employee attention on meeting this and other goals, leaders instituted a system to graphically show employees what is expected and what needs to be done to meet those goals.
Fantastic job, guys. So we can go ahead and move this issue up into the solution hangar.
What we try to do with our scoreboards is keep everybody focused on the goal, and the goal is 0 delinquencies. We've learned a long time ago that the managers don't run the company, that our people do. And what we do is we've put the scoreboards in place to enable them to do that.
By clearly and graphically setting the standards for performance, the managers at Honeywell give employees clear information about their desired goals and feedback on how they are performing.
Research shows something very clear. Goals and feedback together are the only two that produce additional effort to achieve extraordinary results. Goals by themselves have no net effect on performance. Neither does feedback have any effect on performance by itself. It's a combination of goals and feedback.
We structured this thing so that its objectives resonated with the objectives of our top business plan, on-time performance and increasing quality. As our on-time performance gets better, then we have celebrations along the way. As our quality gets better, we have celebrations along the way to try to make fun the act of achieving company goals.
People do have this sense of encouraging the heart as being soft, but it's not soft if it's in the context of standards. How easy is it to live up to a standard of no rejects, not one? That's very tough. So when done in the context of standards, encouraging the heart becomes much more than hearts and flowers, much more than cards, much more than soft. It becomes difficult.
What leaders have to be able to do is have high expectations for themselves and for others. When you don't expect the best, you get exactly what you expect. You get less than people's best.
Based in Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale Community Services is a nonprofit agency that provides financial aid, food, and other resources to low-income families. Over the last 6 years, the agency has been able to increase the amount of financial help it provides by almost tenfold, and to expand its food program from helping 80 to over 600 families a month. These increases in effectiveness stem in large part from Director Nancy Tivell's high expectations of what volunteers can accomplish.
When I first came, there was a philosophy that volunteers could not do some of the basic things they're doing now because we had to give a professional image and that volunteers weren't able to handle that responsibility. And I didn't agree. Hi, Rose.
Hi, Nancy. How are you today?
We get some good new volunteers?
Yes, we have quite a
By
few.
expecting the best and acting accordingly, Nancy Tivell has been able to expand services substantially with limited resources.
We have volunteers now doing things that volunteers didn't do before. We have our lobby administrators. The entire food program is organized and run, not just volunteers doing the job, but they take the job now of organizing the food program, of administering it.
I think you always rise to expectations. If somebody thinks that you can't do something, then you can't do it. But when they ask me to do something, some things I've never done before, but I think, gosh, I can try it. I bet I could do that, and I can.
High expectations don't get communicated by wishful thinking. It's critical that managers take concrete actions to support the desired behavior.
Okay, bravo. 165 bags, 45 minutes. Awesome. Again, bravo. When you ask someone to volunteer and give of their services and their talent and their time for free, you don't want to waste that. So we've developed job descriptions so they know exactly what's going to require of them time-wise. Some of our tasks are hard, heavy, physically demanding jobs, and you can't always just have a willing person come in and say, oh, I can do that. So to clarify and let them know exactly what we need, when we need it, how long it will take, you get a real good buy-in from the volunteers that way. Very good.
So expecting the best is about my belief in you and your ability, and I have to behave that way, and when I behave that way, that kind of magic occurs.
Part of paying attention is the ability to sort of keep in touch with people. And that means being out of your office, it means being with customers, it means being in the field, it means taking a look at every opportunity that you have in all the work that you're doing to look around and see what's going on and what's right and what's working.
For years, Michigan-based Consumers Energy, a natural gas and electric utility, has been undergoing a massive restructuring as part of its transition to a competitive enterprise. Successfully navigating such a change requires great attention to technological issues. But managers at Consumers Energy have also learned that it's equally important to focus on the human dimension in order to meet the organization's goals.
How you doing?
Well, hi, Maddie. How are you?
Hey, good.
Oftentimes, there's a lot of emphasis placed on looking at the technology and looking at the way work is structured and the way people will need to do that work. However, we need to take a step back and look at what does all of this mean for the employees who will work with those systems and work with those processes.
Paying attention is about more than just noticing what people are doing. It also involves understanding those individuals well enough to determine what type of feedback they need at any given moment.
Hey, I want to stop by and give a special thanks for all that you did on the CRISP team.
Oh, thank you.
It's important to get to know the people and know when they're kind of getting down and to send them those little emails or just a little handwritten note that, says good job or, we'll get past this. Hang in there, how can I support you? It's some of those little messages that seem to help the most.
Very much, Maureen.
Thank you.
Appreciate
You are
it.
wonderful. So,
thank you.
thanks.
In paying attention, leaders need to make sure that they're not micromanaging, that really what they're focusing on are the things that are really most important, and those tend to be about the ends, not the means. They tend to be about sort of moving in the same direction, but giving people the freedom to get there in the way that makes the most sense for them.
Storytelling is about teaching other people the expectations and providing them with an example of a peer who lives up to the standards, and then making that story live on in the mythology of the organization.
Located in Natick, Massachusetts, the MathWorks is an established software developer dedicated to facilitating the work of scientists and engineers with innovative programming tools. Despite the company's high-tech focus, leaders at all levels of the organization often use stories to communicate effectively.
About a month ago, we had 5 people go through MathWorks orientation.
Storytelling is more compelling than just giving rules and guidelines and policies. It gives you an actual example that people can remember a lot better. Storytelling can be embellished, and it ties it to people and names and events that are much more relevant.
So now he has to figure out where in 4 floors at the MathWorks this printer lives. How many of you went searching for it? Everybody. So all of them are here, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, searching for this printer, can't find it to print out.
Telling the story can be particularly helpful in providing inspiration to individuals facing challenging situations.
Telling the story actually gives the details, and it helps people to actually be there, even though they weren't there. And it's real easy to find stories that are just like what somebody else is now encountering. You know, roadblocks that somebody else has hit. More often than not, we've already heard it at least once before. And those are the best stories to tell. That people who've really struggled with the exact same issues, and here's what they did to get over it.
It can wake people up and sort of make them think about their jobs and make them think about maybe how to do things better and why it's important and so forth.
I personally want people to look at the big picture at all times. Take what they're doing and factor in sales, marketing, whatever viewpoints are necessary to do the job. And stories also help give people, they are a way of teaching guidelines, really modeling how we want things to be done.
Remember, story is short for the word history. And so when we tell a story, we're creating a history of good deeds here in the organization. We're creating legends in the organization.
We have to personalize recognition to the individual, to the employee, because we want them to know they individually are special.
What you're doing is you're telling them they're important. They're not ignored. What they're doing makes a difference. And the more you know people, the easier it is. Actually, the easier it is to be able to personalize your attention to them and your recognition of them.
You absolutely need to know what are the drivers, what are the hot buttons for the employees that you're trying to motivate. I do things for my staff that encourage what they like. An example is for the team that spent countless hours doing this project, what I do is I send them away for a weekend. Other people don't like that recognition. They would rather be recognized in a different way, more of a public way.
One way that effective managers personalize recognition is by tailoring the acknowledgement to the achievement.
We developed an online database, so we created a really long name for this system, and it was the Customer Retailer Inquiry Concern Knowledge Electronic Tracking System, which is CRICKETS.
And I wanted to thank you because of all the hard work you did. We know how long it got some days. We went backwards, forwards, and upside down, but...
Basically, it was the design and development team who had launched the system that we chose to give the paperweights to. Just sort of a sign of affection that we appreciated the work that they had done.
Personalized gifts are wonderful, but extravagance is not necessary.
One thing that I would say about recognition is that, number one, it needs to be sincere. But two, keeping it simple is very important. I found that even the smallest of thank yous to individuals go a long way.
The other piece, of course, about making it personal is it's you. You, the leader, are involved in this act. It's not about delegated recognition. It's about personal recognition. And you don't have to be spending a whole bunch of time trying to figure out, well, what am I going to say? You just say what you would normally say because it's personal. It's easier when it's personal. It's harder when it's not. Celebrating can be both formal and informal. It can be both a large company event or group event, and it can be everybody going someplace or doing something together, but then it can also be those quiet things that are like birthday parties, or they're like somebody bakes a cake and brings it in because somebody did something nice for them and they want everybody else to know it.
Check it out.
Wow!
Well, basically saying thanks for everything that you've done and that we're plugged into the future. It's an acknowledgement of all the work you guys put into it.
We're good to go.
Thank you.
We're ready. Okay.
When they are linked to clearly defined standards and high expectations, celebrations directly reinforce organizational objectives like customer service, safety, and continuous improvement.
If you can't have fun at work, and it's just a routine, another day, in the business we're in, you're not going to serve the customers properly. In the business we're in, you could have an accident because your mind's not focused on what you're supposed to do and do right. And two, you don't have the energy level that you need every day to make those decisions that help the company out.
When we celebrate together as a community, we do several things for each other. Communities are the source of inspiration for individuals. So when we have a community, a feeling, a sense of we're all one heart, if you will, we perform at much higher levels than when we feel dispersed and out of touch with each other.
It's really easy to work in isolation for long periods of time. Every once in a while, it's good to just step back and go, let's all do something together. Let's all celebrate together. Let's all go someplace together. It strengthens the department, I think. People are connecting more.
The energy created by celebrations almost always yields rewards far greater than the initial cost.
I mean, for a very small amount of money, for a few $100s, we have a quick 10-minute celebration that pulls the whole company in to acknowledge the milestone that a team has reached. It's very, very quick, very cost-effective, and really very leveraged use of resources.
We can't pay people to care. We can't pay people to go the extra mile. They've got to want to do that. And a lot of what Encouraging the Heart sometimes does is those rest spots along the highway. There are the times in which, when you're driving from one part of the country to another, you need to pull over a little bit and rest, and you find that what do you need? You need 15 minutes of rest, and you can go 2 more hours.
When you want other people to know that you personally believe in encouragement and in recognizing others and in appreciating others, you have to do it yourself.
For leaders who've spent their careers honing their technical skills, learning to encourage the heart at first seems difficult, even impossible. But anyone can learn how.
I'm an engineer, okay? I grew up with technical training and math and analytics and things like that, and the people skills didn't come naturally to me. And I find that many technical people within an organization are the same way. The people skills are not their strength. And what it takes for them is simply to describe why, explain the cause and effect of why, if you do this, this will happen. And the light bulb goes off and they say, you're right. And so they figure it out.
Leadership, like anything else, is work. It is a job. And so the question for a leader is, what do I want to spend my effort on? In some research that was done through Center for Creative Leadership, they found that the highest scoring managers scored highest on expressed affection.
People like to be appreciated, and part of that is just saying hello and thanks for being here.
Some days I'm tired and it's hard to show that I care. So you kind of have to get up for the moment.
And don't allow the fact that your boss doesn't do this get in your way. What we've learned from our research on leadership is that even if your leader is the best leader in the world, you still have to exhibit those behaviors as an individual leader.
So for those who say that the Encouraging the Heart stuff, this is the soft stuff, I say, Encouraging the Heart, that's the hard stuff. It's easy to talk about the work. It's harder to talk about the people and our relationships with them. But they're the ones who are going to really make the difference.
Encouraging the Heart it fuels people. It really does fuel people.
It just pumps energy into the system.
It builds the energy up, and it recognizes people for achieving a milestone.
It's really like success breeds success.
It's a win-win for everybody. They enjoy what they're doing, they feel good about what they've accomplished, and the task gets completed on the timeline that's been set up by our priorities.
It seems to me that the most effective people in organizations are just that. Those are people who are able to put their hearts in their businesses and their businesses in their hearts.
So how do you begin? One step at a time, one hop at a time, one foot in front of the other. Little steps all along the path get you to the final destination.